Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We're here to talk about Smackdown from October the 18th, 2024. But first, news and notes. Apparently, Dave Meltzer goes on the Wrestling Observer Radio, I believe, and he made the comment that London now cares more about a Super Bowl than they do about WrestleMania. So WrestleMania is no longer a top priority for the London and running Wembley, and they want to run the Super Bowl in Wembley. This led to a lot of discussion about what's bigger, WWE or the NFL. I don't know enough about the NFL's business in Europe. All I know is when I was a kid, there was a European football league and it went out of business, but they still host games in Europe. So I looked it up and I just Googled it without using Dave Meltzer's name, and a bunch of Super Bowl in London talk popped up from last year. Nothing from this year about Super Bowls in London. If you look about Super Bowls in London, the only thing you'll get is Meltzer and his comment. But Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, well, for starters, before we get to Roger Goodell, it's pretty much sold up the next WrestleMania, the next like 4 Super Bowls are already sold up in cities. So, according to many articles, there will not be a Super Bowl in London before 2030. So, it ain't happening no time soon, even if it does happen. It ain't happening before 2030. But Roger Goodell, in October of 2023, which is exactly 1 year, says, "I think right now our formula will stay the same about playing in cities that have franchises." So, that's the going official NFL opinion about Super Bowls in London, is that they're looking mostly in cities that already have franchises. Now, he did say they want to have a Super Bowl football team, an American football team, in Europe by 2030. But even if they were to get an expansion team in Europe, they would probably have to do 2 over there, to be quite honest, in order to keep everything even. You're still not going to have a Super Bowl over there anytime soon. So where did Meltzer get this idea from? I mean, before we even start having the conversation about whether a Super Bowl in London could even work, I don't see why it wouldn't. And the argument about what's bigger between the Super Bowl and WrestleMania, again, I would need to know more about the NFL in London, because as of right now, they don't run London that often. But they hold games over there, and apparently the games do well enough that the discussion came up. But ultimately, you can get WrestleMania in London before the Super Bowl. So you don't need to have an either-or situation or create a hierarchy. You could have WrestleMania in London in 2028 or in 2029 or something, long before the NFL even gets over there, because the NFL has a system, according to Roger Goodell, of running the Super Bowl where they have franchises that already exist. Now, could they break that? Sure. I mean, he could always change his mind, but as of right now, he's the most authoritative voice on whether there's going to be a Super Bowl in London. And he ain't saying nothing about Super Bowls in London anytime soon. In fact, I think the next 2 Super Bowls are already sold up. So take Meltzer's words with a grain of salt. Don't argue with people about what's a bigger idea between the Super Bowl and WrestleMania. It don't matter. Cities can hold both of them. Not at the same time, because they're going to want tax money and they're going to want Wembley to pay for it. So it's certainly not going to be in the same year. At least I don't think so. But they can hold WrestleMania in London and then 2 years later host the Super Bowl, or even the other way around. It's not a race. It's not like London's going somewhere. London isn't going anywhere. And if worse comes to worst, who knows, the Saudis may pay $200 million or something for WrestleMania. Then you will have a WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia, which I would not be surprised if that doesn't happen before we get WrestleMania in Wembley. Anyway, let's get into SmackDown. Let's talk Bloodline, because this is what the show starts with. Solo Sikoa. Now, the Bloodline has been carrying SmackDown for 4 years now. Some people claim that they're sick of it. To me, this felt like they teased that they were going to do something different, and then it ended the same way it ended last week, which was not fun. Anyway, Solo said that they're the present and the future of the Bloodline, and said that Roman Reigns can't do nothing about it, and Jay doesn't want anything to do with this. Then he said the beatdowns will continue until Roman Reigns acknowledges him. This led to Jey Uso making a surprise appearance on SmackDown to talk to Lil Bro. So Jay essentially says that Solo was dividing the family. That's what's going on here. Solo is not doing this for the family. He's doing it for himself. And that if Solo was mad at Roman, he should just leave and do his own thing, because that's what Jay did. Then he tells him that the Ulafala is earned and not taken. And he threatened to beat up Jacob Fatu for staring at him. Solo says that Jay always has a place in his bloodline. All he's got to do is acknowledge him. And saying that he's trying to unite the family. He's not trying to tear anything up. Jay said, okay, you trying to unite the family? All right. Why you running with these guys? Why you got the Tongans? Why you got Jacob Fatu? There's a reason why we don't talk to these dudes. And he said what he had to say. And then he's going to leave. And the next time he sees Solo is going to be different. As Jay is leaving the building, he runs into Jimmy and Roman, who are apparently listening to Travis Scott. Who the hell does that? Well, unreleased Travis Scott, by the way. Because Roman got the exclusives. He's a big Travis Scott fan. What? I thought Roman was cool. Anyway, Roman says that he's proud of Jay. And that everybody is proud of Jay. And Jay just kind of looks at him, kind of in disgust. And says, but no yeet, right? And there's a tense moment before Jay is allowed to leave. And Roman was like, well, I tried. You tried. I tried. We tried. So backstage, Jimmy and Roman are talking it out. Roman wishes Heyman was there to fix the whole thing with Jay. You know, he says he's not talking to Jay. And Jimmy's plan didn't work. So he's going to have to fix it himself. And he's going to have to do that by acknowledging Solo. This leads to the final segment where Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa are in the ring together. Roman expressed some concerns that the family is more divided than ever, unlike what Solo is saying about them being stronger. And then Roman says, I promised my father, that'd be Stika, that he would fix this, that he would take the family back to the promised land, because he wants abundance. He wants championships for everybody. He wants money falling from the sky. What does he have to do to fix this? Solo says, all you got to do is acknowledge me. And Roman acknowledged Solo. Then Solo said, that's not enough. You have to acknowledge me as your tribal chief. Or else. And Roman said, or else what? which got a huge pop from the crowd. And Solo said, well, since you won't change, I won't change either. He snapped his fingers and out comes Jimmy, beat to shreds by the Tongans and Jacob Fatu. Roman then commences to beating everybody up. Everybody. He even beat up Jacob this time, which was incredible. Then he gets hitting a low blow as he's trying to put the Ulafala back on, and he gets jumped and beat up by the Tongans and Solo. So this week's show ends the exact same as last week's show, with the minor twist of Roman being a little bit more humble and acknowledging Solo and trying to end the family feud. Roman's character arc at this point in time, it is an attempt at redemption, but he has to humble himself. You know, Roman's character was so out of control, not just in terms of, you know, his attitude, but his ego. His ego was out of control. So you're looking at a situation now where he realizes that the only way to fix the family is to check his ego. But when challenged by Solo, when Solo says, or else, and then Roman says, or else what? His ego kicked in again. You know, He's like, what you gonna do, kick my ass? Like, you're not just gonna kick my ass, though. And he bowed up on Solo, which, of course, leads to a continuance of last week. If he had humbled himself a little bit more, been a little bit more patient with Solo, maybe he could have talked his way out of this. But Solo, of course, is now his head's in the clouds. He wants to be the tribal chief. He wants to be acknowledged as tribal chief. He won't end the skirmish without it. So it's a wonderful little conflict you got here, because Solo doesn't want the conflict to stop. You know, he's not trying to do anything that's going to prevent the conflict from continuing, because he's pushing forward because he has the advantage. So he would have to be magnanimous in order to pull back and say, well, I got the numeric advantage. There's nothing you can do. I'll let you have your pride and accept your acknowledgement, and then we can move forward amicably. But he's a heel, so why would he do that? He's like, no, I'm going to drive you to your knees, the same way Roman would do to Jay or Jimmy or even Solo himself. He's going to force Roman into compliance, but Roman is not going to do it. He's not going to go for it. His character won't allow it. And his character still needs to have some level of pride, because when he acknowledged Solo, he actually got booed. That's not what people want to hear. They don't want to hear a contrite Roman Reigns. They want Roman Reigns to take back what's his. That's what they want. And that's going to end up being what is necessary to end the conflict, is that he's going to have to humble himself. Now, he can't humble himself to Solo. That's not going to work. He's going to have to humble himself to Jay. And that's going to be the big interesting bit, is when he finally, and he did a little bit tonight where he said that he was proud of Jay, but there's still a lot of history there between them, and his pride would not allow him to go and talk to Jay one-on-one, man-to-man, and squash it. And the crowd expected Jay on his own to come back and help. Of course, they're chanting, yeet, 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 yeet. He's not coming back. He's left. And he's already said he didn't want anything to do with this. But Jay showing up on SmackDown, you know, without being asked to confront Solo, and then kind of making threats towards Jacob and Solo, you get the finish of that Intercontinental Championship match, right? Where more than likely Solo or Jacob or somebody is going to cost him the title, because now he got in Solo's business and he didn't acknowledge Solo. So he's going to try to go back off and do his own thing, only to get dragged back into the bloodline business. Now, in doing so, that would make their alliance, the alliance of Jay and Roman, one of convenience. It will not be a full reunion. It will be a, you know, this guy cost me the title, so I'm going to fight him kind of thing, instead of it being a family. In order for it to be a family again, Roman has to make amends. He's going to have to swallow his pride and apologize to Jay, be contrite, and actually win that guy over, you know? Like, the question, of course, is how is Jimmy going to convince Jay to come back to the bloodline? But that question also goes double for Roman, because Jay was probably the most brainwashed by Roman in terms of, you know, being the right-hand man and all that kind of stuff, doing all this for his family. He finally broke away from it. He broke away from the cult, and now he's going to be asked to willfully join it again. And no, why in the world should he do that? So it's going to be interesting to see how they do this. And I hope it's not just, you beat up my brother, you cost me the Intercontinental title, I'm coming back. No, that's more of an alliance. That's not really a family. You know, people want to see the bloodline brought back together, strong and whole, you know. But it was okay episodic story throughout the show. Roman's still showing he's resisting being humbled. Jimmy is back in the pocket of just kind of being the sidekick, but they realize that they're missing pieces. You know, Roman knows that everybody in the bloodline had a role to play. You know, Paul was the smart guy who could come up with the plan. He could also be the guy, the liaison between people if they're getting into it and smooth things over. But there is no Paul. And that was a good move because now it forces Roman to do it himself. He is going to have to apologize to Jay. He is going to have to be contrite to Jay. He's going to have to temper his ego and go back to Jay. And the humility is exactly what Roman needs. And to be quite honest, it's going to make his character stronger. If the character is more humble, you know, especially in the face of his, I guess you could say, underlings, it actually makes him a stronger character and showing his character growth. He can still be cocky to other people, but he can also treat Jimmy and Jay like human beings too. And, you know, respect them as men, as opposed to being an abuser. So this could be an interesting character arc for everybody involved. It seems like Jimmy's just going to get pounded into redemption, but Roman's going to have to actually do some work. So that's going to be very good. I'm very impressed with the story they're deciding to tell with the bloodline. I like it. Now, Triple H is creating stupid tournaments again. Now it's another triple threat tournament because heavens to Betsy, you just can't put people against each other and then, you know, or build storylines. I genuinely forgot who the tag team champions were on SmackDown. I had to ask my brother. Anyway, Pretty Deadly DIY Street Profits triple threat match tournament. DIY wins because the Street Profits trying to pin the wrong man, and DIY pinned the legal man. So there's going to be some kind of discrepancy between DIY and the Street Profits. Okay. Pretty Deadly were just there to take the loss, which they're a very entertaining team. It's highly unfair what's happening to them. You know, these guys, they got something. You know, they actually have charisma. They actually have talent. But they're not from NXT Black and Gold. So they have to do the JOB to the 240-year-old guys. Next triple threat match that happened later in the show was Motor City Machine Guns making their debut against Austin Theory and Grayson Waller and Los Garza. Man, Alex Shelley in a WWE ring, that's a fever dream, huh? It felt like it was pulling teeth just to get Alex Shelley to do NXT. I think I said this before, but it felt like he was going to retire a couple of years ago. It felt like it was over for him. He wasn't going to come to WWE at all. And then he did that one shot with Kushida, and that was kind of it. Even when they were signing all the indie guys, Alex Shelley was like, I'm going to go be a CNA or something. I'm not going to go to WWE at all. Like Chris Sabin, I kind of always figured he was going to come to WWE. I think he had even done some guest coaching and stuff like that at the PC. I figured he'd jump ship eventually, but I never saw Alex Shelley coming to WWE. I'm very impressed. Their theme song is terrible because all the theme songs are terrible. They're going by the name Machine Guns, which is very interesting. I thought they was going to just abbreviate it to MCMG as a way of WWE being able to use the trademark and all that, but it's a new era. So we're going to let them keep their names, keep the gimmick and everything. Triple H is insisting on bringing in these guys with these aged talent. And he's bringing these people straight up to the main roster. Everybody that he signed that's been on the indies for a while, that's in their mid-30s or 40s or from Japan or whatever, he's bringing them straight to the main roster. He did the same thing with Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa and Jacob Fatu. He is, I guess, trying to keep NXT, I guess you could say, pure by keeping it for young talent. But you're bumping a lot of young talent off the show by bringing in guys like Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. Look, I don't have anything against them, but 40-year-old rookies, you know, like You're just now getting to WWE. Bro, you're 40. Like, how many new knees has Chris Sabin had over the years? Like, I think he has the double knee braces too. Like, he was in bad shape for a while there. You know, like, he was in real bad shape. But Triple H, he likes this stuff, so. And the crowd hasn't turned against it yet, so it's working out all right. But, and, even though these guys are older, they're new. And new is good. And some people are going to be okay with new. I don't expect them to have Hall of Fame careers, though, which is unfortunate. Like, I don't expect these guys to run a decade in WWE. Again, they're already 40. You're probably going to get about a good 4 or 5 years, and then they're gone, so. If that long, but it's great for their retirement. Maybe they'll get office jobs afterwards, like Abyss. There's so many TNA guys in WWE now. We know that there was a conversation about, would Vince even hire these people? And I would say, like, most of them no, because they're so old. He probably wouldn't be that interested in signing Motor City Machine Guns, for starters, due to their age. Secondly, due to their size. So Triple H is trying to show everybody how different he is. At the same time, I question the decisions, because you have so many young talent that people want to see and that people want to care about. But, you got Grayson Waller and Austin Theory here, who are essentially jabronis. You don't have the guts to send them back to NXT on a more permanent basis and, just replace them. Same thing with Pretty Deadly. If you want to bring in your old guys, go for it. But send the young talent back to NXT at the very least, and let them run there and get some time and showcase there. And you can have DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns on SmackDown if that's what you want to do. Look, I don't hate anybody here. I'm not a huge fan of Johnny Gargano. I'm not a huge fan at all. I wasn't a fan of Chris Sabin being the world champion of TNA, and I wasn't a fan of Alex Shelley being the world champion of TNA. As a tag team, they're less offensive than the Young Bucks, but they were part of that match that blew my mind and made me hate both teams. Over the years, though, I kind of got over it in terms of Motor City Machine Guns. But, the Young Bucks, they have done nothing but double and triple down on everything that I hated about their matches. I'm not looking forward to DIY versus the Motor City Machine Guns. I expect it to be very indie, super indie. But this is what Triple H wants. He's rushing us right into it as well. And it seems like on both Raw and SmackDown, they're going to rebuild the tag team division by putting the belts on indie dudes. So on Raw, the War Raiders are going to win that stupid tournament and probably win the belts from who got the belts? Judgment Day. And then on SmackDown, more than likely, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa are going to end up coughing up the belts to Motor City Machine Guns. I don't understand why they're the champions. They don't do anything with the belts anyway. But then again, that's typical. Triple H put the belts on some guys, and their run is them doing other things while they're the champion. So while people want to bitch and moan and complain about Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley feuding over Dominic Mysterio, look at the tag team titles, for God's sake. I keep forgetting who the champions are. I talk about this shit for fun on the internet, and I can't remember who the goddamn tag team champions are. It's unfortunate. All right, let's finally move on from this. Tiffany Stratton has the flu. That sucks. Nia Jax is going to be in a tag team match. She has no partner. And then here comes Candice LeRae, who talks about being the speed champion. And I wonder who the hell is the male speed champion, and why the speed title wasn't mentioned this many times when that guy had it. Anyway, Candice LeRae replaces Tiffany Stratton. And technically, the main event of SmackDown, the final match, Naomi and Bayley are defeated by Candice LeRae and Nia Jax, because Candice LeRae pinned Bayley. Candice LeRae, another one that's 40 years old. She's been on the roster for a while at least. I was surprised by this decision, but I don't hate it, because you want to get more people in the mix in terms of SmackDown. There's so many women who aren't doing anything, Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell being two of them. While I'm not a fan of either one of them, giving Candice LeRae a big win and potentially telling a story between her and Bayley or her and Naomi or whatever could be fun. It could at least be something different where I could look at different people on the show. And Bayley doing a job is not going to hurt her at all. I mean, they put the rocket to her back for the last 2 years, but I don't expect that it's going to do Bayley too much damage. In this match, though, Naomi was dancing on the back of Nia Jax, which looked very, very strange. Didn't understand that one at all. But Nia Jax was a little surprised that Candice LeRae won. I think we all were. I think we were all surprised by that decision. Okay, match number 2. Lash Legend actually defeated Piper Niven. You might as well just bring Lash Legend on up, but I'm actually okay with them not doing so, considering what they're doing with Candice LeRae. This was the most impressive thing on the show, as she lifted Piper Niven more than once. Now, much credit to Piper Niven for being light on her feet and actually helping, but she made Lash Legend look great. Lash Legend wins with some kind of gory bomb type of move. And they're involved with a lot. Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. They're feuding with Damage Control. They're chasing the tag team titles from Bianca and Jade. And now Lash Legend is wrestling singles matches against Piper Niven and showing her power and strength. You know, and I like this spot when she picked her up, because they cut to Bianca, who really put it over, you know, like being surprised and shocked. Jade was sitting there, you know, without an expression. I think she might have been smirking, but that was about it. She's just happy to have her hair short again. Like, I don't think there's anything going on in that brain of hers. But Lash Legend, you know, picked up Piper Niven and slammed her. That was impressive. That was a big moment. And considering she body slammed Otis not too long ago, that was the full reason they brought her onto SmackDown, to show that she's just as strong as Jade and Bianca. So, like, okay, she's an Amazon too. That's great. Why didn't you do this and show off Lash Legend like this before they lost to them last week? Use your common sense. Moving on. Cody Rhodes cut a promo. It was completely and totally pointless. Talk about how he respects Gunther, how feared Gunther is. Pitching these really dumbass ideas like, what if the NWA World Heavyweight Champion faced the WWF World Champion? Well, they did do that, and it ended up in a 60-minute draw. I think it was Flair and Backlund. You know, like every time they did those stupid title matches, they ended up in draws or disqualifications or something. He knows that. And he mentioned that, like, but at Crown Jewel, there's going to be a definitive winner. And I'm like, oh, oof, just get through this. Get it over with. This is not good. I don't like this Crown Jewel Championship. It's huge. It doesn't look like you can wear it anyway. Like, how are you going to wear that gigantic belt? It's not meant to be worn. It's just going to be carried around for a while. Somebody might even take a hammer to it immediately. That's what I would do. You know, whoever wins it, their next opponent should just take a hammer and break it. Like when Superstar Billy Graham busted up Bob Backlund's belt, or when Mr. Perfect smashed the WWF title. They need to just do that. It should be Fat Boy Kevin Owens. Just have him break the Crown Jewel belt with a sledgehammer or something. Speaking of Fat Boy Kevin Owens, he emoted all over his car, which, you know, he probably was listening to Dido. His tea's gone cold, I'm wondering why. Right as he was cutting his promo. He's so emotional. Like, why is he so emotional? I'm going to shave this thing down a little bit. He feels disrespected by the WWE because people get attacked backstage all the time. But he's the one who's being told he's got to stay home. So he's upset about this and feeling like he's being punished for attacking the Golden Boy. They're lying and telling everybody that Cody is the reason why the company is in a boom period. I'm not going to pay that any attention. Nobody believes that except people on TV screen. No, nobody in their right mind believe. Look, Cody is doing gangbusters in terms of business. Let's not lie about it. But everybody knows that the boom period exists because of the Bloodline story. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, Kevin Owens was really upset about Randy Orton betraying him, picking Cody over him. A classic elite storyline. This is why he needs to be in AEW. I thought you were my friend. I thought you were my friend. Oh no, who cares? You're grown men. You're grown men. Go have a beer or something. Go have a cigar and talk it out, you know? You're acting like little girls. Randy wants to fight Kevin Owens, however. Nick Aldis says no. And the reason it's no is it's coming from above. So somebody above. Nick Aldis does not want Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton at Crown Jewel. So it's Triple H, isn't it? Triple H going to put himself on TV again, isn't he? There is no good reason for this storyline. There's no... Kevin Owens is 100% correct. Guys attack each other backstage in WWE every week. And now he's being sent home for weeks and weeks for doing this. No, it doesn't make sense. It feels to me like Kevin Owens is not going to Saudi Arabia. So we're going to write him out of the show for a while. But we're going to have him still participate by sending videos or maybe popping up here and there. But if he's going to wrestle on this show, it probably would have did an angle where he'd have been brought back by now. So the idea is they wrote him and Punk off TV while the Crown Jewel thing is going to go on. And then magically they're both going to return right afterwards. Guaranteed. Oh, okay. So that's Monday Night Raw, Friday Night Smackdown. There's a bunch of people on Smackdown getting paid to do nothing. Santos Escobar, B-Fab, there's a bunch of people. Michin. Chelsea Green is at least on TV every week. She doesn't do a lot, but she's at least there. Indy Hartwell. There's just so many, especially managers and backstage talent. They don't do shit. They don't interfere in matches. They don't talk. Elektra Lopez, my God. She was sitting center stage when they came back from commercial. I forgot she existed. How do you have a woman that fine and you don't even do nothing with her? I understand she can't talk. I understand she can't wrestle. But shit, she fine. There's always time for a fine woman on TV. Always time. Always. You can always find something for them to do. But apparently they can't find anything for them to do. We need more time for DIY, guys. We need more time for DIY. Oh my goodness. Anyway, SmackDown was okay. I didn't really care about the triple threat matches because I don't really care about triple threat matches. But the Bloodline development I thought was fun. Lash Legend stuff was fun. It was interesting seeing the Motor City Machine Guns in WWE. So there was enough there that I think it gives it a pass. But I'm not a huge fan of the show. Basically, I think the show is getting kind of old in terms of the age of the talent. And I also think it's getting kind of repetitive, especially in the Bloodline story where, it's not enough forward movement. But there is movement. So they're taking their time because they got to get through Crown Jewel. I get it. It's going to be one spot before Survivor Series. But let me know what you guys think. And I'll talk to you folks later. Peace out.
No one does it better.